Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Live from Minnesota there on the screen. If you're watching Facebook Live or YouTube Live, it's one of our favorite guests, Mark Scandrette. He's an author, teacher, activist. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rick and Dan.
Hey,
Good
I
to
don't
see
know.
you.
Yeah, it is good to see you. And I don't know if I caught this before. I don't even know if we brought this up. I didn't realize you lived in the Mission District of San Francisco when you're not traveling the world. What's it
That's right.
like? Is that like the coolest place on the earth or what?
It's pretty cool and it's very diverse. I mean, we have it's one of the oldest neighborhoods in San Francisco, and it's a big crazy mashup of a lot of new immigrants, particularly from Latin America. A lot of people who are working class. And then because Silicon Valley's moved north, we've also got a lot of tech people. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg, maybe you've heard of him. He's a young man.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's got a little compound about 10 blocks from us.
Wow. A compound, I'm sure it is, too. Yeah.
So do you and Lisa get to hang with Mr. Zuckerberg there? Or?
You know, he's just been spotted around the neighborhood. Yeah, but
He hasn't invited you for dinner yet or anything?
Not yet. I'm still waiting for the invitation.
Now, remind us, if you will, before we get into the book, because we do want to catch up with you on the ninefold path of Jesus, hidden wisdom in the Beatitudes there. How did you and Lisa end up? Are you from California? How'd you guys?
No, I'm originally both of us are from Minnesota.
Okay.
And I graduated from high school in Moundville, Alabama.
Wow.
I know where that is, I think.
Yeah, went to the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa. But back in '98, we felt really called and inspired to figure out how to create faith communities among people of our generation, and so we wanted to live in a world city, so we relocated to San Francisco with our 1, 2, and 3-year-old children.
Wow.
To try and figure out how to move into an inner city neighborhood and learn to be part of the neighborhood and follow the way of Jesus, and it's been quite a ride.
Now, being from the University of Alabama, how many people have given you a hard time after this weekend's game?
Well, I'm kind of disengaged from all of that. I don't follow it too closely.
That's good. So you're not like a roll tide every time you hear the word Alabama.
I was when I was getting season tickets for $19 when I was a student.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good luck with that.
Hey, Mark, how many people said that you and Lisa were crazy back in the day? Don't drop any names, but when you said,
many people said we were crazy, either crazy or courageous. One of the two.
I would
especially
say,
with 1, 2, and 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I would say courageous. Over the last, now, what'd you say, the 90s? What is that?
So it's been 24 years.
Okay, so over the last 24 years, give me 3 pieces of wisdom from those decades there.
Yeah, I think it helped. This move helped expand our hearts for God's kingdom and love for people in ways that we never imagined. I also think it challenged us to not just identify as believers, but it called us to really learn to be followers of Jesus rather than just fans. And then I think learning to practice the way of Jesus and not just go to church or say this is what I think or what I believe, but to find that matchup between words and deeds has been a big lesson for us.
Now, you're up in Minnesota. You said you were speaking there, and before we came on, you said you used to speak, 145 days out of the year in 5 different continents, which just, I don't know how you survived that. But you were speaking in Minnesota. Are you talking on the ninefold path of Jesus, and how did all that go?
Yeah, I've been talking on the ninefold path of Jesus, hidden wisdom of the Beatitudes, and we did night before last, we did an event at a theater here in Rochester, Minnesota, and I was at a church in Okoboji, Iowa, just a couple days, the last few days before that. So it's been great.
Now, as you communicate what's in the book, and it is a great book, The Ninefold Path of Jesus, Hidden Wisdom, that goes along with the Beatitudes there, as you communicate that to your audience, probably some people in the audience have never heard this before. It is kind of a shift for most people that would be, in a church. What's the response been as you talk about it?
I think what often strikes people is they know these things. Like most of us, if we've grown up in church, know about the Sermon on the Mount. But I think it's a part of the scriptures that is often avoided. Partly because Jesus is presenting there a manifesto for a whole new way of being and living. Love your enemies, turn the other cheek. Don't worry about your life anymore. Seek first the kingdom of God. And so we know those things, but to be reminded that and go, this is actually a way of life that Jesus believes is possible. And at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, he said, anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is wise. So they really are in the words of my mentor, Dallas Willard, a curriculum for Christ's likeness.
Mm-hmm. And now looking through the different 9 postures, we've talked a little bit about this, but the last one being the way of radical love.
Yeah.
Radical love. It's something that we don't really live by these days, I don't think, as much, right?
Yeah, it's inspired by, I called it that because of the last phrase of the Beatitudes, blessed are those who are persecuted because of me. And, Jesus invites us in other places in the Gospels to deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and to follow him. And a lot of times when we hear a statement like that, we go, wow, Jesus is being hardcore. That sounds like a really hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do a little judo on that and say, it's actually harder to not die to ourselves, to live in that small, separated self. And so I say that the first instinct that posture addresses is sort of the posture of self-protection. Psychologists and philosophers have often speculated that fear or fear of non-existence is what drives most of human behavior. And it leads to cowardice. It leads to self-protection. And as Jesus once said, it's foolish to live cautiously. So I think that beatitude invites us to move from that posture of self-protection into a realization that we're not alone in the universe. This is a safe universe to live in. Nothing can separate us from God's love for us. And so, and that we have hope that life comes after life. I think that's what allowed Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane to face his fears and to double down on that hope. And it allowed him to offer his life for us. And then he says, offer your lives for one another. You can choose this radical way of love. And so to realize I'm connected to the eternal life of the Father. And out of that, I can learn to live and love courageously. So a question I like to ask myself is, how would I live if I was unafraid to die? Or what risks would I take to really stand for love in this world and to really lay my life down for others if I wasn't in that posture of self-protection?
So good. Mark Scandrette, book is called Ninefold Path of Jesus. The average reader, average listener, they grab the book. Should they read it all and then do it? Take it a step at a time? How shall we digest this, Mark? I guess it depends on the eater, right?
The heart of my passion about this book is it's really based on a curriculum that I developed with a group called 9 Beats over the last 5 or 6 years. And so at ninefoldpath.org, there's a very robust learning guide that goes with us. So my best hope is that people would pick up the book, invite a few friends to, and then take it chapter at a time. And each chapter kind of takes you through that. Here's a first instinct we have, and then this is the reality, deeper reality that the Beatitude invites us into. But then we also ask the question, well, if we could affirm these deeper realities of God's love and God's kingdom reality with us, how do we move from that first instinct to this new posture for life? And it's through practice. And so I suggest 3 or 4 different practices that I know personally for myself and for hundreds of people that I've walked through this process with, that they really do help us move into a new way of living and being.
Awesome. You can find out more at Mark's website, markscandrette.com, or as he said, the ninefoldpath.org. to get more information. You can find all of Mark's books, including his book with he and his wife, Lisa, at markscandrette.com.
Hey, Mark, we got to go to a break in a second. We'd love to talk to you again, maybe after the first of the year, kind of catch up with you. Where can people hear you speak? You have a podcast. I'm sure you have recordings somewhere. If not, you should.
There's a YouTube channel. If you go to ninefoldpath.org or my website, there's a series of 10 videos that were created as part of this 9 Beats project. So you can get a quick 3-minute picture of what we're talking about with each of these Beatitudes at those websites. And then I'd encourage people to consider signing up for one of our Ninefold Path online labs. If you go to my website, we'll actually start. We're finishing a lab this week, and in about 4 weeks we'll start a new one. And we have people literally from all over the world, particularly pastors and church and faith leaders who are in the lab with us, taking on these practices and encouraging and supporting each other. And many people say it's been one of the most transformative experiences of their adult lives. So I love doing that work and having people join us for that.
Hey, he's the coolest on the planet. Mark Scandrette there, markscandrette.com. Hey, Mark, 9 Beats. That sounds like a band to me. Is that something you're doing on the side?
Well, if you look at the website 9beats.org, part of the project is a musical album that came out in 2017, and so it's got quite a few tracks on there from different artists from 3 different continents. And I had a chance to lead a spiritual retreat for those artists at the beginning of the project and help recruit some of them. And so it's a beautiful soundscape accompaniment to the Beatitudes that people can check out.
Very cool.
Hey, check out his book. Check out all his stuff. It's Mark Scandrette, markscandrette.com. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.